New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins, just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag, the one you stole from your ex, or your overpriced half a studio apartment, or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar, triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. Futurama returns on September 15th, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama returning September 15th at 8 p.m. Watch it on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Ghost of Tsushima Yotei Gamecast. I'm your host, Andrew Zink, and I'm super excited and kind of can't believe I'm welcoming you back for episode 19, Act 3. This is for the final Mythic Tale, Haikus, Lighthouses, Bamboo Strikes, Hot Springs, Shinto Shrines, Inari Shrines, Pillars of Honor, Random Encounters, and final Act 3. Thoughts, whew, a lot to get through there. And this is our final episode for the main game of Ghost of Tsushima. I can't believe it's been 19 episodes already, and we've covered the full game after this. So I'm really excited to dive into it and wrap up Act 3 and Ghost of Tsushima here. Obviously, we still have to do the Iki Island DLC, which we will get to. So we're just going to dive right in. So in Act 3, there's only one final Mythic Tale to do. So we'll just start off with that. So the Mythic Tale is called The Undying Flame. And this Mythic Tale is going to give you the Way of the Flame fighting style. So it basically allows you to light your sword on fire using incendiary oil, and you can pick up that oil throughout the game if you've done this tale. All right, so the Undying Flame takes place in Jogaku Prefecture, and that's where I'd say a lot of Act 3, the main stories and such, takes place. So you basically arrive to a camp at the base of Mount Jogaku, and you find Yamato freezing. So this is the musician who's given you like all the mythic tales throughout the game. So he's sitting at the campfire. He's totally freezing. It's windy. It's snowy. You can almost. They did a great job making you like feel how cold it is here. So he can't light his fire. Jin shows up and has to help him out. So as you light the fire, you sit down to go, get some warmth with him, and he begins to tell you this tale. So I will read the tale right here. So Yamato says, "Long ago, fire fell from the sky and landed atop Mount Jogaku. A lone warrior braved the dangerous climb and found a giant rock covered in flames. He touched his sword to the fire. Flames engulfed the steel, but left him unharmed. He created a new fighting style he called the Way of the Flame. The warrior took pieces of the rock west with him to China. There he sought answers about its origin from learned monks and scholars. After months of travel and research, fire fell from the sky once more. He led the people to it and showed them it was nothing to fear, for he believed the Way of the Flame was a gift from the heavens, and he shared its secrets with all who wished to learn. Handed down through generations, the Way of the Flame has returned to Tsushima. The Mongols wield it against our people. but rumor says the fire still burns atop Mount Jogaku, waiting for any who can survive the climb. Yeah, so I thought this was a really cool story, and it does provide some backstory for, as you go through this entire game, the Mongols are using this. They do light their swords on fire. Not all of them do, but there are certain enemies that will. And it's just cool to add that backstory here. And I think it's really cool whenever there's mentions of China or people leaving, mainland Japan or Tsushima, to go over to mainland Asia. Just cool that they reference that and, talk about the intersection of cultures there and everything. So, yeah, Yamato says that he told this story to a Ronin not long ago who began the climb, but he fears that the cold will take him. And at this point, Jin sets out and the quest begins. So you start heading to Mount Jogaku. So again, you're already camped right at the base of it, so there's not very far to go. So you basically arrive, and so I thought this was really cool. I really liked this in the game. So it's so cold at Mount Jogaku that there's these campfires set up along the whole way up the mountain. And if you're not next to one of the campfires, then Jin will start to freeze to death, meaning that your screen starts to get frozen up. And I gotta say, this is the only time in the game where this sort of thing happens, but I really loved this and I thought it was really cool. It kind of reminded me of playing BioShock, the very first game, actually, which I was pretty young when that came out at this point, but there were lots of really cool scenes in there where it's like, if you inject yourself with one of the power-ups, or you take damage, or there is a time where you get frozen, your field of vision then takes on this new effect, and it can be really disorienting as a player. So this was really cool as it starts to happen. So basically, as you climb Mount Jogaku, your goal is to get from one campfire to the next as fast as you can so you don't freeze to death. And if you can't do it, then you freeze and you have to restart. Okay, so as you first arrive, the first campfire, you go from Yamato's campfire, climb up the rocks that are right in front of you, and then you run over this bridge. So the main enemies that you're encountering here are dogs, kind of wild dogs up the mountain. So you have to defeat one dog on the other side of this bridge. Then you climb this next group of rocks, turn right, go up a hill, and then you reach the next campfire. So yeah, I'm gonna try and run through these as fast as I can because there's not too much that I feel is super interesting about any of this, but so then to get to the next fire, you stand on a rock, next to the fire, and then you'll see this next location off on a cliff. And if you run forward and jump over the chasm, you can use the grappling hook to catch yourself on a tree, and then you just climb up the cliff, and to your left you'll find the next campfire. So then for the third campfire, you look to your left and there's going to be a lot more dogs blocking your way on this one. So what I did for this is I would kind of run out from the fire, defeat a couple, and then run back to the fire so I could reset it. And that's what I did. But, if you use the focus hearing or, just look out, you can pick off a couple with your bow before you go. So yeah, you run along a path and climb some rocks, and then the next campfire is there. Now, what's cool about the third campfire is there is an alive samurai who's there. And you can talk to him while you warm up. And he basically just says that, he can't make it to the top, but he's okay. He's physically okay, and only his pride is hurt. But it's kind of cool to, run into someone. And again, I just want to say, the whole time, they did a great job with the atmosphere of this, because it was, so windy and snowy and just icy. I felt I was in, a wintry, cold environment as this quest was going on. So that was really cool. So, yeah, then to get to fire number 4, you take a left from the camp, run along a snowy path, and, there's a large group of rocks that you eventually climb, and you cross a fallen tree as a bridge, and then eventually, you use your grappling hook to reach the other side of this gap, and then you have to light this fire, actually, and so you hold the right trigger, and then you can warm up. And yeah, this one, it starts to get really close. You have to travel kind of far, so you want to be moving quick to make sure you get there in time. And then yeah, for the final fire, you kind of head straight up this rock and across a tightrope, and then you can use a branch to climb up and grapple onto a tree stump that's across the gap. And yeah, if you use your grappling hook again on a couple branches, you'll reach the next unlit campfire. So again, you have to light it, and then you can hang out there to rest for a second. And then at this point, yeah, you're done with all the campfires, and you proceed on. You jump over a frozen dead body, looks like a samurai, and you use your grappling hook to latch onto a tree stump on a cliff, and you climb up and use the handholds to reach the top of the mountain. So then you can turn right, jump another gap, climb a bit more, and you'll finally arrive to the dojo at the top of Mount Jogaku, where you can begin what is really the final part of the quest. So when you arrive at this dojo, just one thing I want to say here real quick, this was a pretty nice dojo. It was pretty large, and inside it was spacious. You know, there were multiple levels. And the first thing I thought was, I mean, who lugged all the materials up here to build this? These are the things that writers and game developers would probably be very annoyed at me for, questions that nobody cares to ask, but it's the first thing I think of. How does the local economy sustain the building of that's where my mind goes on all this. But no, it was really cool. I actually really liked this, where it was like you get to the top of this mountain and there's like, you know, just a really cool kind of forgotten structure for the most part, rarely visited, and just adds that feeling of like mystique of like, oh, what's going to be up here, you know. So when you arrive at the dojo, there is a samurai waiting for you, and his name is Betomaru. So you can speak with Betomaru, and he tells you that the Mongols brought them, like the Mongols brought with them to Tsushima the gift that his ancestor brought to China. And just so everyone knows, like, obviously, for anyone who isn't aware, the Mongolians have conquered China and a lot of Asia by this point, so it would make sense that, like, you know, the Mongols have discovered, you know, the way of the flame, just according to what they've explained in the game. So yeah, after you talk to Betomaru, he asks you to pick up a piece of the flaming rock so he can teach you the technique. So I thought this was really cool. I was really excited for this. So then you begin a duel with Betomaru, and it's called the Undying Flame. That's the name of the duel. So then, yeah, during the fight, you basically have like a normal duel with him, and then Betomaru will eventually prompt you to ignite your katana. And you press, you know, R1 to do that, and then it like shows you the way of the flame. And so then you like duel him using the way of the flame, and he has it the whole time. And so your sword's on fire. I thought this was really cool. You're starting to do extra damage with your melee attacks. So I thought this was, I couldn't wait to start using this. And unfortunately for me, I had beaten the main storyline already, and I've kind of beaten a lot of the side quests and the main ally quests and such. So I didn't really have that much left to play in the game by the time I got this, but I hadn't played the Iki Island DLC yet, so I was really excited to head over there to practice using this. So yeah, once you get Betomaru down to about a third of his health, he'll yield the duel, and then gives you this incendiary oil, which allows you to light your blade on fire. Yeah, and so then at the end of it, you know, you just have a little chat with him, and that's pretty much it. And then you have to descend the mountain and speak with Yamato. And yeah, it's not too hard to get back down the mountain. And once you do that, Yamato basically, you know, you tell him that you've discovered the way of the flame and you've been taught the method, and he tells you to be careful. And that is pretty much the end of the quest. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to have. I would say actually this is one of the most worthwhile Mythic Tales in the games, because some of the other Mythic Tales where it's like, if you get an armor or some other piece of equipment, they're not always like, I don't know, there's something you might try out once or twice but not use forever. But any of the actual techniques that you can learn, I think are hugely worth it, and this is definitely one of them. So yeah, that's the end of the quests. Our final Mythic Tale for Ghost of Tsushima main game, not counting the DLC. So yeah, hey, I love the Mythic Tales. I thought they were really cool, and again, all the ink, you know, like cinematic scenes that you get when Yamato's telling the tale, I think are some of the coolest parts in the whole game. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So that wraps up actually our last quest for you know, the main game of Ghost of Tsushima. And at this point, we're just going to wrap up, all of the haikus, bamboo strikes, and everything else, all of the, activities you can do and collectibles and such. You can find in Act 3. So it won't be too long for all that. But yeah, so we'll just dive right into the haikus. So in Act 3, there's only 3 haikus. And there's going to be a common theme here. Act 3 has 3 prefectures. There's Jogaku Prefecture, there's Sago Prefecture, and there's Kin Prefecture. So for a lot of the activities, there's 3 of them, 1 for each prefecture generally. So that's the case for the haikus. There's 3 haikus in Act 3, 1 for each prefecture. So I have a soft spot for the haikus. So I'm just gonna run through, what each of them are, where you can find them and such. But so the Sago haiku is super cold. It feels very cold. It's at this house on a coast where you reflect on hope. And so yeah, the atmosphere is really cool there. It feels really cold, but it almost feels like you're kind of enduring the cold for the haiku while you reflect on hope. And there's something that feels just, strengthening in that. So then the Kin haiku, actually, I really wanted to talk a little bit about the Kin haiku. So the Kin haiku is overlooking the Kin sanctuary burning village, and you reflect on ruin. And so here's what I wanted to say about this. So the Kin Sanctuary, that's the very first place that you discover in Act 3, when after you've escaped from Castle Shimmer in Act 2, you then meet up with Yuna at the Kin Sanctuary, and it's this huge burning village that the Mongols have just totally leveled and taken over. So just cool to kind of have something that draws you back to that location after the main quest. But it's also a lot, generally speaking, most of the haikus throughout Act 1 and 2, they were at very different scenically beautiful places with some view of the ocean or some view of the mountains or up on top of a hill or something. This was one of the few times where it was you're looking directly at a human structure. You're not looking really at nature. And then it's also just this scene of ruin and conquest and war, and so it does not feel relaxing or hopeful really on its own. And yeah, so you reflect on ruin, and all of the haiku options are kind of darker and sad and more hopeless. I want to say it's definitely not a super uplifting haiku, but there's something about the haiku music where, the haiku music itself is very peaceful and relaxing, and I would say, reassuring, that, I don't know, to see, the Kin Sanctuary burning as you do this haiku with the music, and depending on what choices you use for, to get the headband of ruin from this haiku, you could almost look at it and feel a sense of hope or resilience, more where it's no matter how much we endure at the hands of this war, we will build back and survive and find a way. So yeah, I just thought that was really unique, and that's the meaning that came to me and that I took away from it. I'd love to know if other people found this haiku and what you guys thought of it. But yeah, hey, it's really close to the Kin Sanctuary, so if you haven't found it yet, go check it out, because I think it's pretty worth it. And then yeah, the final haiku is the Jogaku haiku, and I wanted to shout out this one because this is in truly, I think this is the absolute furthest, most northern tip of the entire game. You're in the most northern prefecture. You're in the most northern region, Kamiagata. Then you're in the most northern prefecture, Jogaku. And this, you literally have to ride all the way out onto the tip of this peninsula on Whaler's Coast to do this haiku. And you will get the headband of strength if you do this one. And so it's you're just literally surrounded by the ocean basically as you do this haiku, but it's cold, snowy, windy, typical Act 3 things. And yeah, there's literally no other reason to even be in this whole area other than to do this haiku. So, and I found it cool and worthwhile for that reason. And again, it just feels Yeah, it's like you came to do this for a purpose. Like you're sitting out reflecting just as far north as you can possibly go because it's just part of your journey and you chose to be there. And that just feels meaningful to me. So those are the 3 haikus in Act 3. If y'all haven't done them all, I totally encourage you to do so. They're really fun. I find the haikus to be, for me, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole game. I would replay the game just to do the haikus, honestly. So I think those are really cool. All right, so we're going to move on to the bamboo strikes. So in Act 3, there are 3 bamboo strikes. Once again, 3 strikes, for 3 prefectures. So yeah, the two bamboo strikes I wanted to call out were the Sago and Kin bamboo strikes. So the Kin bamboo strike is really cool because it's actually located right next to the Kin lighthouse. So you just have like a cool view of the ocean, basically. There's not too much more to say about it than that, but just wanted to shout it out. And the Sago bamboo strike, I feel like I had to shout out because it just has a spectacular, just beautiful, spectacular view of like the ocean, the mountains, just everything. If you guys haven't checked it out, you have to get it. And so when I did the Sago bamboo strike, I actually got the Sacred Mountain Messenger mask. And you get the Sacred Mountain Messenger mask from completing every bamboo strike in the whole game. So for me, the Sago bamboo strike was the last one I did. So 3 bamboo strikes in Act 3. All 3 of them are cool. And I just love the bamboo strikes. Like, they're so simple. And it's such a simple, fun little almost mindless activity that you can do in the game, and it means so little as far as the story is concerned, but it just feels so fun to do, and it's just such a cool little thing to add in. I just really loved it, and once again, I just can't say enough good things about this game.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
So now we'll move on to the hot springs in Act 3. There's 3 hot springs in Act 3. Once again, 1 hot spring for every prefecture. Honestly, I don't really have anything to say specifically about any of the 3 hot springs. They're all beautiful with good reflections. So I would definitely encourage everyone to check out the hot springs, because I would say the reflections were, for me, the coolest parts. There's some locations of the hot springs, like in Act 1 and Act 2, where I was like, oh, this is such a beautiful location. I really wanted to shout it out. I thought the locations were all pretty and fine, but the reflections really stood out to me, where I was like, but at this point in the game, you can reflect on Yuriko. I mean, you can reflect on Fallen Samurai. And if you've beaten the game, which I did by this point, you can reflect on Jin's choices, reflect on the ghost, just things like that. So yeah, I think all that's really cool. Find the hot springs, y'all, if you haven't yet. And yeah, now we can move on to the Shinto shrines. So there's 3 Shinto shrines in Act 3. Once again, you're hearing this from me a lot, but 1 Shinto shrine for each prefecture. The one I wanted to shout out was the Forest Cliff Shinto shrine. I just have to say, I thought this was so crazy beautiful. It's on the far eastern coast of the island in the Kin prefecture. And this is another location where it's there's no reason to be anywhere near this place unless you're trying to get to this shrine. And it's one of those shrines where it's like, it's literally located out on rocks on the ocean. And to get to it, you have to like swing, you have to use your grappling hook to cross chasms across various disconnected rock pieces, huge rock pieces from the mainland of Tsushima in order to get this shrine. So like technically speaking, like you're not even on mainland Tsushima, you're on like a tiny little island off of it when you get to it, but just the most beautiful view you've ever seen of the ocean in a video game, practically. So yeah, the Forest Cliff Shrine in Kin, y'all, I encourage you to find that. But again, there's only 3 Shinto shrines in Act 3, so you can get all of them, and I think it's all worthwhile. Yeah, now we can move on to Lighthouses. I gotta say, I love the Lighthouses. I think the Lighthouses are so fun and just such a cool addition to the game. So there's 3 Lighthouses in Act 3. The Jogaku Lighthouse is used in the main story quest when you survey Port Izmi, so everybody finds that one. But you have to go back to it after you complete the main story to light it, because after you complete that survey quest, Jin says like, oh, well, let's not light it so that we don't alert the Khan right now. So that is just like a fun little Easter egg that it's like, if you have to go back to it if you want to, light them all and get the legend increases. So then, yeah, the Kin Lighthouse is located southeast of Iwa-e Village. And once again, as I mentioned before, the Kin Bamboo Strike is right next to the lighthouse. You can get, 2 for 1 when you go there. And the Sago Lighthouse is located at Sibling Bay on the western coast of the island. So, yeah, hey, all the lighthouses are really cool in Act 3. They're all beautiful. I encourage everyone to go find them and relight the flames. And there's 8 total lighthouses in the game on Tsushima, and each one will give you a legend increase, so definitely worth it. All right, so we can move on to the Inari Shrines. There's only 10 Inari Shrines in Act 3. That's a lot less than there's been in the game so far. So I just wanted to shout out the Inari Shrine next to the Silk Farm in Sago on the far northwestern shore is really cool. It's like a snowy coastline. So it's got this beautiful coastline view. It's got this beautiful view of the ocean, but it's also in front of a waterfall. And again, it's just like, oh my God. I mean, it's like, there's just these moments where it's like, did they just try to imagine, like, how can we just overload people with the most beautiful things they've ever seen all in one shot? And that's just like how they made this whole game. So yeah, and if you find all Inari Shrines in the game, you get the Wolf of Tsushima mask. So again, the masks don't come with effects; they're vanity gear, but it's a cool mask to have. And yeah, that's really all I got to say for the Inari Shrines. There's 10 of them in Act 3. Finding the foxes are awesome. I love the Inari Shrines in the game. I'm hoping to be able to release an episode about the history of the Inari Shrines and just like their reality, their historical context in real life and such. But I really love finding them, love petting the foxes, and there's 10 in Act 3. Go find them if you haven't yet. All right, now we'll move on to the Pillars of Honor. This is our last specific activity to recount. So we've got 7 Pillars of Honor in Act 3. The Pillar of Honor north of Mount Jogaku. So this is the one I wanted to shout out. So it's snowy and has this beautiful view of the ocean, and you just have this view of like rolling snowy hills. So when you go to the Pillar of Honor, you can get the Tanuki's Brush sword kit. And so this one I thought was cool because it has this like really bright, beautiful blue and gold handle, but it's one of the ones that has this hilarious like furry blade or like, the blade sheath. And this one, it was like this dark red and black sort of pattern. So I actually think the handle's really beautiful. Any of the furry blades, I just think they're funny. Like I almost just can't even take them seriously whenever I see them used. So that I just wanted to shout it out for that reason. Also, there's an Inari Shrine like literally right next to this Pillar of Honor, basically, north of Mount Jogaku. And it has this same just incredibly beautiful view of the like snowy landscape, the ocean, and the rolling snowy hills right here. So I just wanted to shout that out. And then, yeah, I also wanted to shout out the Endless Forest Pillar of Honor in Kin. So that's on a hill. And again, it has a really cool view, and it gives you the Azure Dragon sword kit. And I just thought that sword kit was just really pretty and just wanted to shout it out. So yeah, 7 Pillars of Honor in Act 3. I found the Pillars of Honor really cool to discover throughout the game, and just seeing how there's always like fallen samurai near them, or like, you know, dead Mongols, or just like, it just adds so much to the story that it's like there's these places of significance all around the island, and you find these like battles that have been fought, and in a way it's like really sad, but it's also significant because it's like there's these stories that nobody will ever know what they were, but you know that something happened, and like the samurai trying to defend each of these pillars of honor and places. And I just think it's incredibly meaningful that they added into a game, and just another thing they do to really, you know, surround you in the atmosphere of what's going on in this story. So yeah, now we're just going to get to some random encounters that I found, you know, as I was playing through Act 3. So here is one thing that was totally brand new. So I found these trebuchet encounters, or like siege weapon encounters. And here's what I mean. So I was just riding along, and I was in Sago, and I literally just came across like a squad of Mongols operating this massive trebuchet. And you only ever really saw the trebuchets in, you know, Act 2 during the Ghost of Yarikawa storyline, where the Mongols are using it to destroy Yarikawa, and you have to go burn the trebuchets. So I just came up across this trebuchet, and honestly, I didn't even know what it was shooting at. They're just like launching like attacks off, and I was like, I don't even know what they're attacking, but I should probably shut this down. So basically, I was near Kamiagata Falls, and so I cleared this group of Mongols, and then I burned the trebuchet, and then like I noticed smoke like off in the, like, not far distance, but not like super close. So I noticed smoke, and I approached it, and I found like these 3 houses. And that was the target of the trebuchet. And at this point, they're like totally on fire and destroyed. So after you destroy the trebuchet, if you arrive to these houses, there's a bunch of villagers there. And you can talk to them, and they say, our homes are destroyed, but at least we have our lives. And they thank you. And then there's like a ton of supplies on the ground that you can pick up, and that's your reward. Yeah, and just want to say, this one in Sago is kind of near Fort Shoei, that's the fort that you do the final quest with Norio for his main ally quest, where he finds that Mongol Karchu who tortured and killed his brother Enjo. So yeah, it's around there. Go look for it. I think it's cool to find. And then there's a second one that I came across. So it was at the Shinboku Inn in Kin Prefecture. So again, another siege weapon encounter. Now with this one, I came across the Shinboku Inn first, where they were taking fire. And so you talk to the civilians there. They're taking fire from the siege weapon. I found a woman, and her leg was stuck under some rubble. And so you couldn't free her from it until you stopped the trebuchet. So in this case, they said, oh, my lord, like, please go stop this trebuchet. It's attacking us, destroy the siege weapon, and save us. So then, yeah, you find out where the attacks are coming from. You ride towards it. You clear the Mongol squad. You burn it. And then you can go back there. And then I was able to free the woman's leg from under the rubble. And a similar thing happens where, you know, the civilians say, like, thank you, we have nothing left. We can take whatever supplies you find here to help you. And yeah, that's it. I mean, and so with these trebuchets, as far as I know, there's no quest for these. I mean, unless you're just riding around and you just kind of notice it happening as you're exploring the map, like, I bet there's a lot of people out there who just totally missed this in this game, and I would have too if I hadn't just stumbled upon it. So that's a really cool random encounter that you can find. And then, yeah, just a couple of things I want to shout out here. There's a location called Jito's Foothills in Sago, and it's just a really cool, beautiful location. So there's like really rolling snowy hills with a great view of the landscape and the mountains. And yeah, you find this throughout the game. You can find like a campfire camp in the Jito's foothills with civilians around it, and it's super cold and windy in these foothills. And when you show up, the civilians will just say like, "Oh, hello, my lord." They'll like stand almost like at attention for you, but it's just a really cool location, and you can collect a bunch of bamboo from this camp in the Jito's foothills. It's just like there for you to take. Yes, I just love that. And like when you come across a camp like this with civilians here on the campfire, it just like really reinforces the hardiness of these people. And again, in this time, it's like they're probably hiding out. They're probably thinking like, well, our best bet is just to pick a place, way out in the wilds that are like, hard to find, cold, frozen, like no Mongols would be out here. And it's got to be hard to survive in those circumstances. But if you can do that for who knows how many months, like maybe you can outlast the Mongols and evade detection. And again, it just adds a lot to the world building of what it was like during this historical event. So I really like that. And yeah, the final random encounter I wanted to mention here is at a location that's called Kin Village. And I have to say, this is not a location that you can fast travel to on the map, and this is different from Kin Sanctuary. It's literally just called Kin Village, and like there's some burning houses there with a squad of Mongols that you can defeat, and then you can free a hostage, and that's it. Like you just clear the Mongols, free the hostage, Kin Village. It's just like a couple burning houses, not huge, and that's it. And you don't really you get some supplies as a reward, and that's basically it. There's nothing else. So yeah, I really appreciate these random encounters that they're in the game. I'm sure there's probably a couple more throughout the game that hey, for me, this is all just cleanup. Like anything miscellaneous I found, I wrote down and then I added in so I could tell you guys about it. But yeah, so that wraps up the random encounters. And then the final note for this episode, and man, I can't believe it, for the whole mainline game of Ghost of Tsushima, it's just the final notes section of Act 3, just some things I wanted to point out. So yeah, just one thing I wanted to mention is the Endless Forest in Kin. And again, that's the place where that's the very first thing you find when you enter Act 3. It's the whole forest that's burned and the Mongols have come through there. I just wanted to say, the Endless Forest in Kin really is huge, and it's totally burnt. And it's easy to miss if you just play the main story and then you beat the game and you put your controller down. You'll probably never even notice it or find it. But if you actually go back to the Endless Forest and ride through it, it is crazy how massively large the Endless Forest is and how it's all just burnt. And it's just really showing you the destruction that the Mongols have wrought upon this land, and just how sad that is. So I just want to point that out. The next thing, if you go back to Port Izmi, and that's where you do the final duel with Khotun Khan and defeat the Mongol army there. If you go back to Port Izmi and you look out at the coast, you can actually see the huge sunken Mongol ships that you had Kenji destroy with the Huachas, where you dueled Khotun Khan on the final ship. You can see them all sunk in the bay with the masts sticking out of the water and such. I just thought that was really cool. And again, one of those things where it's I'd say some of the coolest parts of this game are going back to the locations where the main story takes place after you've done it. And Komoda Beach, I think, is one of the coolest locations to go back to. Even Komoda Village, and again, I would say Port Izmi kind of adds to this too, where it's just wow, and just imagine what it's like. It's okay, we won, and now how do we clean this up? I mean, how do we clean up these massive ships that have been sunk here? Do we just look at this wreckage forever, or do we try and row out there and hack it down? It's just really interesting to contemplate. Yeah, I only have two other notes here. I noticed if you ride through General Dogshin's camp, and that's the one where you do the quest Fit for the Khan, where you find the Mongol commander armor and get all the pieces together. Yeah, if you go back to that camp after you've cleared it and beat the quest, all the Mongol yurts are burned down. None of the other structures are, but the Mongol yurts are burned down. So I just thought that was a cool thing for them to add in, because obviously you don't explicitly do that in that quest. And the thing I thought was just interesting about that is that if there was a record or an artifact, and maybe I'm missing this, maybe there are no records or artifacts inside these yurts specifically, but if there's something inside those yurts and you don't find it during the quest, if you complete the quest and then all the yurts are burned down afterwards, I wonder, like, are they just gone from the game forever? And that's something really interesting to think about. And that would suck if you've gotten, like, you know, if you're missing one or two of the records or the artifacts for the achievement or the trophy, and then it's burned down so you can't find it. That would really suck. But that's something I tried to look it up. I couldn't find an answer on that. And all right, y'all, I only have one final note to close out this episode, and I have a feeling y'all are really gonna like it. It's it's this incredibly funny, hilarious helmet that I found. I guess it's a piece of vanity gear, and I just found it to be so funny and kind of dumb. I had to put it in this episode. And yeah, it's my final note, the final thing I'll leave you on. So if you look outside Jogaku Temple, and that's like where the main story is happening, right? Like everybody has to go to Jogaku Temple. And if you just like look around the grounds on the outside, if you go near the ice lake where you cross it at the very beginning of that quest, you'll find a couple graves in the snow. And so you'll find a shovel that's like, I think they call it a spade, that specific type of shovel. But so you'll find the spade like stuck in the ground, and then on the like handle or base of this spade, you'll find this helmet, and it's called the Tengai helm. And you just pick it up, and then you have it. And this helmet, this thing is literally just like a basket that you put on your head. And I find the Tengai helm to be so funny. It's almost like in Star Wars, you know, Episode 4, you know, A New Hope, where Luke has to put on that, you know, he puts on that blaster shield helmet where he can't see, and then he's like, how am I supposed to train if you can't see, you know? And so like literally it looks totally ridiculous. There's like kind of a small section where it's like you can breathe, but otherwise it literally, you're just wearing a basket on your head that you just cannot see anything. And so I put it on in the game, and I just like rode around, and there are some scenes where if you're doing something serious and you're wearing this Tengai helm, it is just so funny. I tell you, you have to find it. And the description that goes along with it in the game is, true mastery begins where individual ego ends. And so I guess that's really, I don't know. I guess that's really fitting, because it's like you can't see your face. You're just like a totally faceless, nameless person. And I guess if you learn how to fight and you literally just can't see while you're wearing the Tengai helm, I guess that's something interesting to consider how that would go. So yeah, that is. Oh, and one thing, I'm reading that it's only available after completing Eternal Blue Sky, the quest. And yeah, that is the main quest where you basically end the game and you know, defeat Khotun Khan. So that's interesting. You can only get this helm after you do that. So yeah, wow, I can't believe it, but that's all I got for final notes. That's all I got for episode 19. You know, the Act 3, just closing out the final activities and, you know, the final Mythic Tale. So I'm going to be releasing an episode about the Iki Island DLC shortly, and we'll get all that put out and wrapped up. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed how we've covered, you know, just the Ghost of Tsushima main game. I've tried to cover everything, not leave anything out. Also, not like, you know, dive too deep into details no one cares about, make the episodes take too long. But hey, I want to be thorough, and I just love this game. I love talking about it. I hope you guys love listening to it as much as I like talking about it. Just want to thank you for being here. And hey, reach out to us on Blue Sky. You can join the Robots Radio Discord server and join our Ghost of Tsushima Yotei Gamecast channel, and we can hang and chat. You can find how you can reach us on any social media or anything in the show notes, in the episode description here. So that is really all I got for you. And I'll just leave all of y'all with this. If you are trying to scale Mount Jogaku, do what you can to stay close to a campfire, and I would definitely suggest bringing your warmest pair of mittens.